remote viewers can be found in Beijing, China. They can be found in Saudi Arabia. They can be found in India, even found here in Tennessee, for goodness sakes. Oh, my goodness. In California, it goes across. There's no cultural reason this does not work. And that is very good, I think more than substantial evidence that it's a genuine phenomenon, part of the Homo sapiens species.
I have a subscription account, and it's Patreon. They are top supporters. They've been here since the beginning. They're the reason that I get to have this awesome job and interview amazing people like yourself.
Thank you.
And so one of the things I do for their extra support and love is I give them the opportunity to ask the guest a question.
All right.
So this question comes from John Paul. Excuse me. In your research into psychics and remote viewing, was there any indication of a spiritual or extra-dimensional connection that may have suggested that viewers are being helped by or connecting with other entities, spirits, watchers, or other beings that then transmit information and visual perception of remote locations back to the viewer?
No.
No.
Well, it deserves a better answer than that. It was a very interesting question. Those are important questions. Humans have been worrying about that ever since we scampered down from the trees. Those are really important questions. There's an idea in physics that says, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So our approach has been just straight, hardline physics, physiology, and psychology and physiology. And these spiritual issues, however important they are, and it may influence people's reason to do this, but the question is that part of the mechanism by which it occurs? I don't think so. And the reason for that is if it's pan-human, what it means is remote viewers can be found in Beijing, China. They can be found in Saudi Arabia. They can be found in India, even found here in Tennessee, for goodness sakes. Oh, my goodness. In California, it goes across. There's no cultural reason this does not work. And that is very good, I think more than substantial evidence that it's a genuine phenomenon, part of the Homo sapiens species. And if that is true, and it's a big if, let's say, then it can't depend upon a particular spiritual worldview, because there are so many different spiritual worldviews, including having none. Most of our people are non-religious at all.
Fascinating.
Now, maybe meditation, which I don't think that I would go so far to call that religion, but way to quiet your mind. There are many techniques. There was a conference arranged by our colleagues in Brazil. It took place in Alexandria, Virginia, and there were 5 remote viewers and 3 managers. And what was fascinating to me, I went on for 2 days, we tape recorded the whole thing, that there was no 2 remote viewers that did the same technique. One person does it by dreaming. Another person does it like we just did, business like across a table. Other people have tried meditation. Other people have tried music, listening to that first. I mean, there are whole kinds of really bizarre ways. Doesn't matter. If you want to stand in the corner and spit nickels out of your mouth and do remote viewing that way, we're happy with that. Whatever works, works. And our job is to try to figure out what is going on with that. What is going on? And we can talk a little bit about that later on in the interview, mechanisms.
I would love to do that. So what you're saying is that you think that this is species specific to humans.
Yeah. Now, not exclusively, but what that means is there isn't a culture in Central Africa, let's say, or in Norway that can't do remote viewing. Mm-hmm. Anybody, any human can do it. Now, like any other skill that humans have, there's a spectrum. Some people are really dead on with it, and some people can't do it at all, and most people are somewhere in between.
So maybe we get into some history before we dive into your nuclear physics career.
Oh, dear.
But
okay, go ahead.
Since we're on the subject, but I had spoken about this with Joe and on the show here, and it sounds like, if I remember correctly, it sounds like he thinks the same thing, that this was kind of maybe we've lost maybe the majority of the species, or maybe lost is the wrong word, but we've lost the ability to do this, or at least we're having troubles accessing it. So if this is human specific, what's the evolution of this? And how did the majority of us, am I saying this correct, lost the capability, or at least don't know how to access?
I think I disagree with Joe on that. I see no evidence that we've lost it.
I don't want to misspeak. So
now I'll tell you why. I mean, as we'll talk later on in the interview, I've done a lot of work with the Russians now. And there's a cultural difference between Russia and the U.S. One of it is that it was kind of a misnomer, in my view, that the Russians are non-religious. They're very religious. They're like 6 or 8 churches in the Kremlin alone. And Stalin attended one church each week through entire years of the Stalinist era. They're very religious, but it's the Russian Orthodox Church. And if you've ever attended a Russian Orthodox ceremony, there's nothing but mysticism. You go, there's no pews to sit there. You stand around, and the priest never even looks at you. He's mumbling something incoherent to an icon on the wall. So it's very kind of mystical. Whereas after Luther and the rise of Vatican II, what's happened, unfortunately, is we've taken mysticism out of the practice of religious things. The Roman Catholic Church can give the Mass in local language instead of Latin. And so my wife thought about this, and I'm digging into it with some colleagues, that one of the reasons ESP is so well accepted within the culture in Russia and not so here is that they're used to mysticism. And people hear, well, what do you mean? Take the mysticism out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And frankly, our work is not mystical at all. It's hard-nosed physics, physiology, and arithmetic. Fuzzy sets.
I want to reiterate, I maybe I've misspoken, but I remember talking to Joe about how communication was, in early times, talking caveman times, that communication was a lot more efficient and deliberate than it is now, because in the conversation was basically saying, as language came about, it takes longer for me to describe to you what I'm thinking and trying to convey to you at this moment in time, but rewind, thousands and thousands of years ago, it was pointing, grunting, expression, and what he was saying is, as we started to travel more and more in groups and safety, that we kind of and language was kind of developed, that our thoughts and the way we communicated became less efficient.
Well,
and so maybe what he was, I should have listened to this before this interview, but maybe what he was saying is that because of the overcomplicated communication that we were developing, some of the other things may have slipped.
Well, remote viewing isn't so much about conversation. It's about action.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there was a fellow by the name of Rex Stanford, no longer with us, a psychologist, who invented a procedure. And basically, the bottom line of it was, if this is true, that it's innate to human beings, some are better than others, that we probably use it at a level of unconsciousness. We don't know we're using it. And I can give you a firsthand experience like that. I was teaching at City College of San Francisco physics, and a colleague of mine was coming from the East Coast into San Francisco, and part of a convention in downtown San Francisco. It was before cell phones. And we had arranged that I'd pull up in front of the hotel at 5 o'clock in the evening, and we'd go out for dinner together. Okay, it's about a 25-minute drive from the school to that. And I'm thinking, well, to get there at 5, I've got to leave here at quarter after 4. avoid traffic. I said, I'm not going to do that. It's a big, giant pain. And I gave myself all kinds of arguments why I don't want to do it. Not psychic at all. I'm sitting in my office, right? And finally I said, oh, he's going to be really angry. So I eventually showed up an hour late, pulled up in front of the hotel. He came running out of the hotel. How long have you been here? I just got here. Oh, thank God. I have no way of reaching you. I couldn't meet you at 5. So how did I do that? One explanation is I use my own unconscious psychic ability that we all have to maneuver through life more efficiently than I would otherwise have. And there's a lot of data to support that other than just my own personal experience. Pretty interesting.
Very interesting. No matter where you're watching Shawn Ryan Show from, if you get anything out of this, please like, comment, subscribe, and most importantly, share this everywhere you possibly can. And if you're feeling extra generous, please leave us a review on Apple and Spotify podcasts.